Hello, in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to set up Behat testing and integrate it with Drupal. Now there are a couple of prerequisites for this, and the first of those is that you'll need Composer, and installing Composer is out of the scope of this video, so I'm not going to talk about that. But if you do not have Composer, then just head over to the website. The documentation is good, so it shouldn't take you long to get that set up. And the second thing is, of course, you will need a Drupal site that you're going to test. So if you've got both of those things, and also you'll need Git Bash, or you won't need Git Bash. You can use the Windows command prompt, but I will be using Git Bash because I prefer it to the Windows command prompt. But you can follow along using that if you like. So what you want to do is open up Git Bash and navigate to the root folder for your project. And one thing I'll mention is Drupal 8 projects often store all of the have the code in an internal folder. So all of the code for the actual website inside an internal folder, typically called web or doc root. And if that is your folder structure, then you want to make sure that you're in the root. You're not in the doc root or web folder, you're in the actual root of the project. And if you are there, then you want to type in the following command: composer require --dev Drupal /Drupal -extension version 3.0. Hit enter, and this is the only package that you have to require, because everything else you need is a dependency for this. So just requiring this one package will take care of pulling down all the packages you need, which is quite handy. It's one good thing, one of the many good things about Composer. So once all of those have downloaded, you're going to run a command that is going to create some default files for us. So you're going to go vendor /bin /behat -init, which is for initialization. And let's see, I have to specify the file type. And as it says here, it has created some files. Just move this folder over actually so it's visible. It creates a default context file which is called feature context, and the class is named the same name as the file, and features will go inside this folder. And there is another important file called behat.yaml, which is a configuration file. So I'll just open that, and yeah, I'll move this over so it's visible. And this just has some configuration settings in it. First of all, it has some context files that are needed, context classes that are needed to add the default steps that I will show in a minute. It has the drivers that we're going to use, Goot, Selenium 2, and also the base URL for the project. So you'll replace this is where your URL for the website you wish to test will go. And yeah, we're using the black box extension. These commented out lines can be ignored for now. So now that that is there, I'm going to run another command. So go vendor /bin /behat.bat-dl, and this is going to show us all of the default steps we have. So if you've never done any Behat testing before, the way Behat testing is works is you define steps, and these steps map to functions, and those functions actually test your website. Now that is all of the detail I'm going to go into with how Behat works on its own, because this is a Drupal specific tutorial I'm giving, but I do have another video that goes into more detail about how Behat actually works itself from the from a basic level. So I will add a link to that in the description for this video, so if you want you can go and watch that if you don't really understand how Behat works itself. But for now I'll continue, and what I did with these default steps here is I actually copied them and saved them in a file, so I didn't have to keep looking back in the command line. It's a bit easier if I've just got them in a file. So I'm going to clear this because I don't want to see all of those. Now the next step is to add a feature file, put the features in. So, and yeah, one more thing I mentioned is this behat.yaml configuration file. By default, Behat looks for it in the root folder or in a folder named config that is inside the root folder. But if you want to put it somewhere else, you can add an argument to the end of your command and specify where the configuration file is. But unless you've got a really good reason, you may as well leave it just where Behat looks for it by default, which is, as aforementioned, the root for your project, the root folder for your project, or inside a config folder that is inside the root of your project. Now we'll go back into the features folder and we'll add a feature file, which has, as you probably could have guessed, an extension of feature. So dot feature for the extension, yes, then just open it up in NetBeans, and yeah, you can see these are the default steps that I saved, so I don't have to look at them in the command line. Now start your feature with the feature keyword and then give it a name. Just call this account registration because that is what I'm going to test. Then just give it a few lines to describe it. So in order to create an account as a user, I need to be able to complete the registration form. And then I'll add the first scenario, the first and only scenario actually, complete the registration form. Now let's add some steps. The first step will be, given I am on / account registration, and you can find steps for pretty much most of the things you want to do. If it's something like you want to select field, you want to select a select field, then you'll just look for the word select and you'll find something suitable. For this one, I'm going to use this here. I enter value for field. So, and these words here at the beginning, they have no significance in the actual test itself. Behat doesn't care what these are. These are just to make it easy for someone to read the steps, because it's supposed to be human readable steps. So it makes sense you can use the correct word at the beginning. Having said that, for this tutorial I'm going to use "and" for pretty much everything. And I enter for, is that correct? And I enter value for field, yep. I'm just going to copy that a few times because most of the fields are going to be the same syntax, just with a different ID for the field. So, and you can use the name for the field, the ID. I think you can use the label. There's lots of things you can use to target the field that you want to test. I'm going to use the ID. So enter. I'm just going to enter T for most of them. Just fill them out quickly. Yeah, so it's the first field. Yeah, we can see phone. And finally email, which will need a different value actually, because it's going to validate it as an email. So if I just give it T, that's not going to work. So that's the first few fields. I'm just going to minimize that so I don't have to, it's easier to switch between windows. Yeah, so that's the first few fields. Just fill them out. Now we've gotten to the second page, and just get the values for these. So the first two are just simple text fields, and then we have a checkbox. Field 3. So I'll look for a suitable step for the checkbox. Oh yeah, and here one's come, I check the box checkbox. So I'll just copy and paste that. I check the box edit field 3. Next we have some radio buttons. And so I'll just quickly check something suitable. Radio. Given I select the radio button, label with the ID. Now in some situations, just this step here might be maybe suitable. I select the radio button label, but as labels can be reused and are not necessarily unique, I'm going to use this option because it's just more safe and guarantees the test is, you know, a bit more future-proof. I select the radio button with label, so let me find label of option 1. And the ID of this. Now the next one is a select field, so I'll find something suitable for that. Select, no, not a radio button. Yep, this looks suitable. I select option from option. And I select option from option. So for this, I will choose option 1. and that is from field 5. And oh yeah, of course I forgot to add pressing the next button. So yeah, when I press, just copy and paste that. And I press the button. These buttons have the same ID for each page, so I can just use that there and then copy it and use it here. Let's just fill this out. TT check, option 1, option 1, next. And finally we have the submit button. So just double that up. Right, there's a little bit more I'm going to add to this, but let's just quickly test that it's working correctly at this stage. You can see it's got the feature, then the scenario. And everything passed. Lovely. And just to show you that, you know, if I make a change that it will cause an error, so you know that it's actually testing these, I'm going to change the email to T, and then it will not make it past the first page. So you'll see an error. Yep, you can see it has not found this field because it has not made it to the second page. When it clicks next, that will just reload that first page with an error. So we can see that works. Now, as well as all of the default steps that you have, you can define your own steps if there's something custom you need, and that is what I shall do now in the feature context file. Okay, so yeah, you just have to make sure that it is extending raw Drupal context. The way that the steps are mapped are through regular expressions. So for this, I'm going to demonstrate saving the page. So put then I save the page, and I'll just name the function save the page. Save page. And I'm going to get the page I want to save equals this, get session, get driver, get content. That is what I want, and I'm just going to write that to a file. So I've forgotten the name of that function. Oh yeah, that's it. File put contents. File contents. Name it Behat page .html, and of course we will add the data to it. So now the function is set up, and I just have to add the last step. Then I save the page. And the reason I'm doing this is just well, one, to demonstrate adding your own steps or your own functions that you can map steps to, and two, this might be handy. This is something that I had done before, so I could actually see the page that the users will be redirected to when they fill out the form, to make sure it is the right page and it has got the right information on it. So I'll quickly just clear this, run it one more time. Yep, and there you can see all the steps passed, so that's nice. I will open the page that was saved by the last step and that custom function I added. Yeah, you can see I just got it to output this message: your account has been created. So that is an introduction to Behat integrated into Drupal. There are loads of things you can do. You can create nodes, you can create taxonomies, you can create users. It's really good for testing your site and making sure everything's running the way it should, especially when you implement new features. You can run these tests and make sure that they haven't negatively affected anything. You can go to this website here, read the docs for Drupal. If you just do a quick Drupal extension search in Google, this will be on the first page of results, I believe, third or fourth result, and this just has lots of information about it. You can read up on the Behat documentation itself, on the Behat website itself, behat.org, to find out more. And yeah, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, I'd be appreciative if you could like the video, and I'd be even more appreciative if you could share it and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, thank you, goodbye.